What's up, guys? Back again with another steroid review talk. Today I'm going to be talking about nandrolone decanoate, otherwise known as Deca Durabolin. It is a 19-nortestosterone, so it's a derivative of test, of course, like all steroids. Yeah, I took it my first 2 cycles. Both were about 3 months, and I kept the dosage in the first cycle at about 500, and the second cycle was about 250. So I'll go over the goods first, and then I'll go over the bads, and then kind of a final review of Deca. So I noticed a decent amount of muscle gain. Strength went up definitely, and there was a lot of size, whether that be due to water retention or, you know, whatever else. I still noticed a good amount of size. The main thing that I enjoyed from Deca, because I'm an arm wrestler, I get a lot of tendonitis. It just happens for me. I've been doing it for almost 2 years now, and tendonitis has followed me forever. And Deca definitely helps recovery with that. I would go from about a week of severe tendonitis and pain to maybe 2 to 3 days, and then it was bearable to where I could lift again. And it definitely was noticeable. You just feel a little bit better after workout. You don't get as sore, and it doesn't last as long. Now, that being said, I did also, you know, when I came off of it, I lost a good amount of that. The tendon recovery went back down, which kind of sucks. But it was still very nice to have as an arm wrestler, especially at 500. That was a pretty generous dose for Deca. But I noticed when I went down to 250, I didn't really lose too much of that recovery aspect of it, or like the size. I think 500 was too high because that was at the same time as my 500 test, and there was really no reason to run it that high, especially for my first cycle. Just like every other steroid, once you look better, you feel better. Your confidence is going to go up because you're going to look and feel like Hercules. At least I did personally. It's pretty cheap. You know, it's not as expensive as something as Primobolan. It's a pretty safe and studied steroid. There's been a lot of tests on it to show that it's very, you know, it works. It does what it's supposed to. And most of the side effects are pretty controllable. Now, to go to the side effects, I definitely had a little bit of hair loss, but I had that with testosterone, so I don't know which caused that more, because I'd never taken nandrolone by itself. So my first cycle, when I said I took 500 of each, I also was on Superdrol, and I was also on Trim. So I was in a prolactin heaven, and as you can guess, I had some fucking major ED. And it really didn't go away till I came off. At that point, I didn't really know anything about my, you know, pregnenolone or DHEA or my estradiol testosterone ratio and how to balance that. So that was a really, really shitty time. I remember it just stopped working one day with a girl I hooked up at a bar with, and, you know, I was ready to have a fucking good night, and shit just didn't work, and I didn't know what the hell was going on. Come to find out, as soon as I got off Decatran and Superdrol, things went back to normal after some Clomid and Arimidex, and then, you know, just a low TRT dose after about a month of everything recovering. So that is a downside. I was very prone to that, and I'm pretty prone to estrogenic side effects. I noticed I got gyno pretty quickly. I was able to rectify that with some raloxifene coupled in with some anastrozole. But at the same time, once I got my estrogen checked, I had crushed it down to about 12 picograms. So, you know, again, I had no idea what I was doing. So everything in moderation. You got to learn how to balance your shit. And if you don't, you're probably going to get gyno, probably going to lose a decent amount of hair. You'll probably get ED if you don't know what you're doing, if you don't get your damn blood work. Always get your damn blood work every cycle. Peak cycle, coming off, while you're on TRT. Find out what works for you, what your levels are, and do what you can to balance all your hormones properly. That was my biggest issue my first 2 cycles. Once I brought it down to 250, and I halved my Deca to test ratio, which I know it's pretty much pro science at that point, but I noticed a lot of the ED went away on my second cycle. I didn't have as bad of an issue. It was still there because I still wasn't completely, you know, familiar with all my hormones and how to balance them. But once I lowered the Deca, I noticed that things got better a lot quickly, and I didn't really notice a loss in my gains. I still kept incrementing in weights. My size stayed at about 240 every cycle to 245, but I noticed I would still get a little bit leaner. I would get a little bit stronger. Body fat would go down a little bit. And right now I'm off cycle now, currently at 235 to 240. My weight really doesn't go down that much. I just notice my vascularity, muscle roundness and fullness, and strength goes down maybe 10 to 15% at the most after a few months off. And I'm just on TRT at 250 right now, which is a generous bodybuilding dose, I know. But yeah, I liked it for what it was. I will probably do it again in the future. I don't think it's as nearly as bad as Tren. Like I said, it's relatively cheap. It's studied. It's, you know, it works. The side effects were manageable once you dose it properly and don't go crazy like an idiot like I did. And I could honestly, I'm considering it for on my TRT at about maybe 100 mgs a week on top of 250, which I know is generous, that bodybuilding TRT at that point. But I also want it for the recovery because, like I said, at arm wrestle, I get terrible joint pain, and Deca really helps with that. So I want to experiment and see if I do it for about 100 mgs a week after I get my blood work done on just 250, then get it done on 250 and 100 mgs of Deca, and see how my hormones look, my profile, my lipids, and all that shit. But yeah, I would honestly, I give Deca a thumbs up. I like it. I think it works. I don't really think you need it for your first cycle like I did. I think you could be just fine with 300 to 500 tests, which is still pretty high for a first cycle, nothing else, and just see how your body reacts to it. I think, you know, after you got a few cycles under your belt, you've done your research and you've gotten your blood work, maybe you could give Deca a try. But again, I'm not a doctor. Nothing I say here is medical advice. Don't listen to anything I say. This is just my experience on these compounds. Don't break the law in your country, and only do things under the supervision of your doctor, and always get your blood work. You guys have any questions? You want to see videos more like this? Thumbs up, leave a like, subscribe. I'm going to be doing a review of Tren soon, Superdrol, D-Ball, Equipoise, Anadrol, Anavar, Halotestin, and DHB, and I'll release those probably 2 videos a week. You guys let me know what you want to see if you have any questions, but other than that, see ya.